YouTube and Twitch. So
Oh, perfect. Yeah,
it
let me know when it's up, and I'll share it on the Lucid
it
page.
should be up now. So
Yeah,
and
it
then
should be
once we're
golden.
yeah, and then once we're done, I'll download it and throw it up on Spotify.
Oh, wonderful.
So
That's
kind of
great.
kind of works out pretty good. So, welcome everyone to a special Thursday night edition of Metalheads Unite, which is kind of odd for us. I don't think we've ever done a Thursday night show. It's kind of
No, we haven't.
interesting.
Yeah.
But we've got Drew Fortier on with us from Bang Tango, the Lucid. I mean, I don't know what else you want to say. Filmmaker, actor, author. I mean, this guy's got a resume long as my arm. So,
all kinds of random buffoonery.
Yeah,
and we're gonna try and make this Thursday feel like a Friday. What do you say, guys?
Yeah, sounds good. So
that works.
Yeah.
Well, Jason doesn't have to work tomorrow, so that should be easy for him.
Oh,
so.
nice.
Yeah. So I was actually off today too, so kind of that's why I was like,
awesome.
That's why you were in the studio earlier. I was like, well, hell, if you want to do it, I'll see if Chris is available because I can go anytime. So
that was totally my fault. Just especially going from Chicago to Indianapolis,
right?
Even 3 hours drive, but the time changes.
Yeah, throws you off. Yeah, so, kind of the same way going to Kentucky. Once you get so far into Kentucky, it kind of changes too. So,
yep.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, so cool. So
we had the same thing happen with Anzalu when they came on. They're in Finland and they're like 8 hours ahead of us, and they showed up in the studio an hour before the show was supposed to start because there was a little bit of a miscommunication because they were 8 hours ahead of us, and then I can't remember how the miscommunication happened, but I was.
Well, it's because StreamYard does everything in Eastern time. So
that's right.
So it throws everything kind of off.
Yeah, because I was sitting here. I remember I was sitting here doing pre-show, and I had the studio set up, and it just so happened I just had it pulled up, and all of a sudden they popped up. I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? I'm like, they're here and we're not ready. This isn't the only time we've had that happen. Probably won't be the last either, I'm sure.
Yeah, right. So
because I was like, I haven't done that in a long time. This is actually the first interview I've done in a very long time too.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So, but yeah, we appreciate you taking your time to come on and chat with us a little bit more. I felt like when we talked to you at the expo, it was kind of you were one of those guys. I'm like, dude, I feel like I could get so much more out of this than 15 minutes. It just didn't do you justice from everything you've been involved in. So,
man, I appreciate it. Yeah, we had a blast at the expo, and it's so funny too. That was I done that like I just shared this to a whole.
Awesome, thank you.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Oh yeah, that was this past expo. I've done them like 4 or 5 years consecutive, but this is the first one where I showed up and I was like, I really don't fit in here anymore. Because it's the first time I had a table, and I usually do horror conventions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing the music ones, and it's kind of like the horror people look way different than the musician people, and the musician people are so serious. So like, oh, we work with this producer, that producer. It's like, yeah, can you swear on this?
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. This is all. Yeah, this
cool.
This is explicit. So.
Oh yeah, and then people think. I noticed the musicians take themselves too seriously. It's like, come on. It just felt like everybody was just so full of themselves. It's like, let's have some fun. Who cares? It's just everybody's lucky to do what they do. So it's just let that be and just have some fun.
I feel like you get involved in the music business and you get one bad, producer or something, and then it kind of, everybody's like, oh, well, don't work with that guy because he did me shitty. Well, you don't know the extent of why he did you shitty for one.
Most of the people that say they make a living at doing it is lying.
Right. Yeah. That's one of the.
I get a day job,
Yeah, that's one of the things we talk about on here a lot is a lot of the bands that we talk to, people think that it's a glorious life and stuff. And I said, man, these guys still putting in 9 to 5s and still trying to hit, shows.
I love having a 9 to 5 too. It keeps me sane. If I had to do music specifically all the time, I just wouldn't. It's definitely a hobby for sure.
Well, lucky for you, Dave's in about 20 other projects. So I mean,
yeah. So other people keep busy. I get a break.
Yeah, I just read where he's going to do some original stuff with the Kings of Thrash. So
I think they're doing that right now. It's it's really cool.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool. He's kind of jumping from project to project and kind of doing that, I guess. But
oh, yeah, he's going wherever the wind takes him. You know, he didn't expect Diet to pop off the way he did. But I remember before we put out that first video last summer, he was still kind of weary about getting back out there. And he's like, Drew, should I put this out? Because the video's done and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then like 2 weeks later, he had like a deal from Nuclear Blast.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the name of the band was an inside joke too. Diet. That was.
Yeah.
We had an in joke about like starting up this Christian metal band called Heaven Use the Crown, and it just sounds like a Christian metal band. And then we had like a whole track listing for it too, and he said something about it. And then you shall dieth the earth or something. I was like, yeah, that's what you should call the band. And then next thing I know, it's
wow.
And I was like, oh wow, you took me serious. But a lot of stuff happens like that for sure. Same with Kings of Thrash. I have to mean that one too on accident.
Yeah. Well, it's like a lot of things in the entertainment, especially you've been on both sides of music and entertainment, so you kind of know a lot of things. Some of the best things happen by accident. So,
totally. It's the stuff you try and force and do on purpose is usually the stuff you're not the most proud of.
Yeah, because I mean, I was just on set for a movie last week, and like a lot of it was like a Civil War, and then the reenactors didn't all show up on the same day, so we had to like improvise, and and then, luckily there was a lot of people with experience in acting that was able to put in their perspective on things, and we actually made some stuff work, which was and the director even said, man, I think this is actually better. So you just never know. So
that's the best too. You're always hope for the best but prepare for the worst.
Exactly. Yeah
Exactly.
The worst was being out in the middle of nowhere with no signal and having to pee. So, for me, it's fine. But my wife was with me, so
everything becomes a toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything could happen.
Well, then if you were out in the middle of nowhere with no signal and had to pee, then you were definitely in Civil War era.
Oh, exactly.
That's exactly how they felt.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly how they felt.
Write a letter and inquire where the toilets were.
Yeah. Pony Express.
You should have when you finally were able to text Susie, you should have said, I hope this text finds you well. Has been a fortnight since we last spoke.
But it's like, well, I didn't know somebody could text with an accent. That's impressive.
It's like one of those things where you read it, you automatically read it in the accent that it's like written. Like,
I don't know why I'm speaking like this, but I am.
Yeah, I do that a lot, and then somebody's like, and then like I'll see like a thing at the bottom in fine print going, "You read that in that voice, didn't you?" I'm like, "Shit, I did." That's pretty good. But so I know we talked a little bit about the Bang Tango documentary that you put out. Was it 2015?
I think I started like showing it to people in 2015. Then I popped it up on YouTube. I think in like early 2016 or something.
Okay. So it was. If you're not familiar with Bang Tango, that was to me that was one of the bands that kind of come out in the we say hair metal era. But I never really put them in that category though. I think they were a little bit. Bang Tango was one of those bands I think were a little bit before their time. I believe.
They should have been lumped in more with like the Chili Peppers, Faith No More, kind of just alternative. And because especially if you listen to like Love After Death, that third album they did that didn't come out in America, it's incredible.
Exactly.
I was gonna ask you about that too, because I was kind of stunned by that when it came up in the video, and I even looked it up last night, and I saw that it had been released, but I couldn't find like where and when. And so I was like, well, I'm going to ask him about that because it was supposed to come out. What was it? 93 is when it was supposed to come out. Right?
Yeah, it had like various release dates between like 93 and 95. But,
So
Music for Nations put it out in the UK and Japan, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And I got a Japan physical copy of it too. It has really cool artwork.
Oh, nice.
And it's they're hard to find. You can find it I found mine on Discogs for like $70 or something.
Ooh.
But the UK one has like a red cover, and the Japan one has it's like it's Kyle to the artwork. It's really, it looks like something you see painted on like a the Sistine Chapel or something. It's
wow.
really cool looking, but incredible album. I think that's the best album in my opinion. It's just that should have hit and it would have hit hard in America.
Well, I know in the documentary there was a couple of diehard, Bang Tango fans that were, saying that's like their best album, and it never got released. I mean, that's kind of, and it seemed like MCA put a lot of money and work behind putting it, getting them to do it, and then just said, "Man, you know what, we're not going to do it."
They kind of cut their losses for sure. Even with I mean, I think the big problem was they got a little bit too experimental on Dancing with Coals. Like it was like R&B metal in an odd way, and if they would have done something a little bit between what ended up being Dancing with Coals and Psycho Cafe and kind of ease into it, I think it would have been. They would have been taken a little bit more serious from the label, but I think that they kind of stretched a little bit too far with that. But it's still a great album, it's still awesome. But Dancing on Coals, but I think they got a little bit too ambitious. But it's a testament, no pun intended, to their talents.
I kind of wondered to myself if because the guys in the movie, they were talking about they wanted to evolve for their second album. It's like, well, isn't it a little early to maybe think about evolution? Because I mean, they formed in '98, got signed in '98, basically blew up, or not '88, not '98. They reformed, signed, and blew up in '88. And their first album sold 500,000 copies. They established this fan base, and like they say, they went to the Whiskey when there were 20 people there. The next time they went, the line was all the way up the fucking road. So, they basically established their fan base, and on the second go around, all of a sudden you want to experiment. That's an awfully big swing to take for somebody who basically just really made a name for themselves. So that was kind of what I thought. I was like, man, maybe it was a little premature to do that. And even one of the band members was kind of like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that when we did it.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's like the first album's kind of like a bowl of ice cream, and the second album's like a bowl of mashed potatoes that looks like ice cream. Everybody gets mashed potatoes, and you're like, hey, it's okay. You're expecting one thing and get the other. Totally.
And that's the funny thing, because mashed potatoes are still good, but you still had an expectation for ice cream. That's
exactly 100%. Exactly. And then you get that poor album that didn't come out, which is I think is absolutely stellar, and it's. If it would have come out I think they started recording that one in '92, Love After Death, and they brought back Howard Benson from the first album to produce it, and he was really proud of it too. And if they would have put that out, they would have been somewhere else for sure. I think.
I think judging by what Howard was talking about talking about that phase of their career when that album did, I think it almost like. You could almost see the pain on his face the most, I think, because they were all talking about it, every single one, but I think it hurt Howard the most.
He believed in that album so much, and still to this day he loves it. Like he's so proud of it, it's such a shame. But then again, because that happened, created this cool kind of mystique about the whole thing too, that kind of adds to it. It's like a really cool to be discovered, tripped over gem. And then you dive into it, and it's like, whoa, how did this not come out? So it kind of adds a whole other cool factor to it in hindsight, I suppose.
Well, it definitely got me hearing about it, because not only did you address the topic in the movie, but you also had some audio clips, and I was listening to it. I was like, holy shit, this does sound phenomenal. And I can't remember the name of the one critic who was in the movie, but he was also of the opinion, because Jason brought it up a little bit ago, he was also of the opinion that was probably the best album that they put out, even better than Sonic Cafe.
Totally. If Love After Death would have been the second album, I think the things would have been a lot different. And when I joined the band too, I remember I got them to start playing some of those tunes, like my favorite Bang Tango song, My Favorite Nine. Like, they still play it to this day, and they brought it back because I don't think Joe, the singer, realized how popular and high regarded that album was with the fans and all that. But we started playing My Favorite Nine. We were like, yes, finally. And I love that song. Now they play like 5 Love After Death songs. They play like
oh, nice.
Because they got as the seasons change, so Bang Tango lineups, and they got like I think they brought Rowan back in the band, and they got Jeff, this guy Jeff from the Blue Man Group, and it's all Vegas guys. Like apart from Joe, the whole band now is Vegas guys. But they played like 5 Love After That songs. The set list nowadays is incredible.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool that they're able to at least incorporate it that way, so people can actually hear it. So, people can't get their hands on a hard copy, then, or even digital. So,
I was trying to put it out for him too when I was working for Dave's label. Like I was like, it'd be the easiest thing ever because I mean,
it's realistically,
done, so. Yeah, and nobody knows who owns the publishing or the masters or anything like that. Even when I was trying to track down the masters for the Bang Tango movie, when I got many offers to sell it for distribution, nobody at Universal, nobody could find it anything, So it's almost one of those things where as long as you just kind of give credit to somebody, then you could just kind of put it out yourselves. But it would have been really easy to put out Love After Death still. But then again, I love all 5 of those guys, the original guys, very much. I still talk to all of them, most of them.
We're gonna have to tag Bob Chiappardi in this video. So
cool.
we can market it. So.
Absolutely, that album needs to be heard. I hope somebody puts it out, like Rock Candy Records or something like that, or because they just put out a nice reissue of Psycho Cafe recently too, which I bought. And it's got really nice liner notes and all that. But yeah, I mean it's got to see the light of day. It's such a great album.
Yeah, unfortunately, like for some of those things that from our experiences, like those things never come around until the band's completely done, and then like all of a sudden all this shit comes rolling out, and it's
right.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit too late at that point,
Yeah.
And it's like what you're saying is like if that, like you said, if that, and I think that too, if that album came out after Psycho Cafe, we'd be having a totally different conversation about Bang Tango right now.
I probably wouldn't be here. They would have been, they still would be held in a high regard because there's a lot of people that even when I was working with the band, they still had no idea they were still around.
Yeah.
And it's just.
Well, I didn't until I was, till you came on you was coming on the show and I was doing my research and I said, oh shit, I didn't even know Bang Tango was still performing. That's freaking awesome. So
no, yeah, they kind of do the marketing. They're not the best at marketing themselves.
Right.
I tried to do the best I could when I was working with them. I really put my heart and soul into it, but they were just so. We're talking about Joe. I love Joe very, very, very much, but he's just. Always missing the ball when trying to jump on it as far as like heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I think Mark kind of touched on that a little bit when he was in his interview experience there. So he's kind of like, hey, we had this lined up to go do some reunion tours and stuff, and then he just kind of ghosted him.
Yeah, and they did reunite in January 2020. All 5 got back together, did that one show at the Whiskey, then the pandemic happened, and then they kind of just went bloop. But Mark's absolutely right. I mean, it's the more things change, the more they stay the same. But he tried really, really hard to keep it together too for the fans and everything. As far as the original,
he seemed like he was like just from my perspective, he seemed like he had it more together than a lot of the people that was in that documentary. So,
he's definitely the level-headed guy, no doubt,
for
sure. And Joe's sort of, he's like an adorable, eccentric puppy,
mm-hmm.
Mark's like the man in the yellow hat.
Yeah, perfect front man, right? So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get so many great Joe stories. I miss him very much. We still text very often.
Yeah, he almost seems like Joe was the kind of person that didn't like intentionally do some things, but it just kind of like, it's kind of like, no, I don't remember it that way because you know what I mean. Kind of like if you asked him about something. Yeah, if you ask him about something, he seemed like the kind of person to be like, man, I don't remember it that way. But
and that actually seemed to happen a lot in that documentary because because I remember at the end of the very first segment, Joe was talking about, there wasn't a whole lot of issues in the band and everything else. And then Howard was right before the cut to black, before the next segment, Howard's like, yeah, they really didn't get along too much with each other. And then it just cut out. I was like, oh shit.
I thought that was a perfect way to keep people invested when I was editing it. I was like, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there was all those, it's amazing because those 5 guys, they love each other so much, but they also have issues, and it just kind of interchanges between. But they sounded so incredible together. I never saw them live, unfortunately. But I should have flew out for that one show. I should have, being involved as I was, I should have known it would have been one show. Eventually implode, but yeah, yeah, there's like I said, as the seasons change, so do Bang Tango lineups, and there'll always be a Bang Tango.
Yeah.
We got a question from over at Facebook. It said, "Is the Lucid ever going to perform live?" So,
hopefully, one day we kept on trying. It's yeah, we came close. We got offered to play the Gathering, the Juggalos, the ICP festival, and Dave was going to be in Europe at that time, so we couldn't do it. Mike's touring with Raven, and I believe Sponge may have something to do with that. And there might be a version. You might hear some Lucid tunes at the Gathering, possibly, maybe. But it's exhausting because everything to do with the Lucid, as far as like even figuring out manufacturing and fulfillment and marketing and promotion and all that. I'm always, even when I was in Bang Tango, I was always the guy that kind of gets stuck with those kind of things. Mm-hmm. I bring it upon myself, but then I'm the one that has to deal with it.
Yeah.
But so yeah, so I guess at some point there'll be shows. Hopefully, I'd love to at least play one show, and I'd probably be in the Detroit area with Vince from, and maybe Token Lounge or something like that. Maybe September, October, hopefully.
Yeah. Somebody said just hit the spots and venues that Sponge plays. So.
Yeah, I mean that's the most ideal thing to do would be to tour with Sponge, and we talked about that too at one point. And I'm even at the point where I'm gonna talk to Vin and be like, I'll just follow you guys around on tour. Just have me hop on with you and Sponge for 10 minutes. We'll play a couple of Lucid tunes.
You could do a Static X dope kind of thing.
Yeah, right. That's what they do. Exactly, yeah, totally. Yeah, we just change the banner in the background for a second, then change it back, and then play plow.
I sure hope I didn't spoil anything for anybody with that. If anybody,
if they don't know by now, then
I was about to say, if anybody doesn't know that tie-in by now, then
I believe everybody already was suspicious of that. It just took a while for them to come clean with it. So
that's see, that's the funny thing is they've still never really come out and outright said it. Because Edsel is like, I'm trying to let the Static X thing be the Static X thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he still hasn't admitted to it.
Yeah. We want to thank Jason and Kimberly for those questions. Appreciate that. So
absolutely.
We always need a little bit of a help on here. So
Well, hey, that's interaction is all a part of it, and it's not just the interaction between the three of us. So, absolutely. If you guys got any questions for Drew, just let us know.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you one thing. Like I seen like the one part of the documentary where you were filming. Oh shit! I just went blank. Oh my god, the lead singer. Golly, I just went blank.
Oh, Joe.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, Joe.
You were filming Joe in like the lounge area of that bus. Was that you behind the camera?
That was
Okay, I kind of thought it was. That sounds like true.
Yeah. That was one of like this 5 or 6 times I had to try and interview him because he's harder to catch than a leprechaun. Like anyone knew. And he did a lot of interviews. You can see, I think you can see a couple of them in there. But eventually, I got Lance, the bass player at the time, to show up at his house with the camera and shoot a nice long interview for me. So I had something, to move the plot along, if you will.
Yeah.
Keep him focused because he goes off on magical tangents.
Yeah. I know he passed up on a lot of questions. He's just like, I'll just pass on it. I think it I think he may have thought that may have dig up some memories or start some heat that he didn't need. So
right. One of my favorite Joe stories is the first time I showed the movie had only one public screening in Chicago at this bar I worked at, and the Bang Tango at that time, that iteration of the band was on tour, and I planned it to where they were going to be in Chicago, and so they'd be there and all that. And it was Joe's first time watching the movie, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be good." And at one point, doing one of the moments where him and Mark are kind of, "Oh, Dulcie, yes, thank you so much." She does incredible art, by the way. Dulcie Harris. She's an incredible artist. Everybody should check her stuff out. She turned me into a cartoon, and it's incredible. And so we're at the screening for the Bang Tango movie, and during one of the parts where Mark and Joe kind of going back and forth via editing and all that. Like, oh, this didn't happen. That didn't happen. Joe stands up and points at the screen at himself and goes, "Hey, I didn't say that." And like as he's saying it, and then and toward the end, he looked at me. He's like, "Drew, what are you, some kind of asshole or something?" Then he stormed out and I started chasing after him like he's like my girlfriend or something. Then he stops at the exit and turns around. It's like, gotcha. I was like, Joe, watch the rest of the fucking movie. And then he for some reason he says that he hates the movie, but that night he turned to me and he said, "Drew, I needed that. Sometimes the truth hurts, but I needed the truth, and I really appreciate you doing this and showing me this because I." And then of course any interview he does, it's like, "Oh, I was just drunk when he said he could make that, even though I spent 4 fucking years of my life making that damn thing that never even came out officially." But so.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like the story I just read where Nikki Sixx, he don't even remember being on the first 4 Motley Crue albums. He was so albums. Yeah, he was so messed up at the time. He just don't remember.
Nikki ripped off me and Dave's book for his fucking Motley Crue. What was it that Operation Douchebag or something? I forgot what it was called. But it was like
talking about the Heroin Diaries?
No. It was like The Dirt, but as if they were like secret agents.
Oh, okay, like
that. Oh, because me and Dave wrote that book, Rockstar Hitman, and then like 6 months later, it comes out with that, and I was like, "Oh, that's typical Nikki." So
yeah. Well, there's a lot of there's not a lot of inside the music Nikki fans. So.
No, I met him before. He's an incredibly nice guy. Yeah. Like it's probably not even him. It's probably some.
Probably,
yes, man around him be like, "Oh, this is who should do this," but
and he probably don't. Yeah, he probably don't even know that y'all guys did that, but somebody put it in front of him and said, "Oh, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Incredibly nice guy, the most normal guy you could ever meet. Like he's, I played for Oklahoma when I was with Bang Tango, and that's which is where I met Ellefson. And it was like Bang Tango, 6 a.m. Megadeth, and Disturbed and Rob Zombie or something, but. Nikki was an incredible nice guy. Yeah, I will say that. But yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. It was typical.
That's kind of good to hear because Sully Erna probably would not agree with that.
Oh well, then again, he had to tour with him, so I met him for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
yeah.
Anybody could be super nice for 5 minutes. So
that is true. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
well, I mean, hell, you're not going to go through life with everybody liking you anyway. So
right. Oh yeah, that's why I've always purposely avoided meeting Mustaine, even though he's been 2 feet away from me on many occasions. Like, I don't want to meet that guy. I'll catch something I don't want.
Yeah. I've actually heard like mixed stuff about Dave, so it's kind of it's kind of like some a friend of mine went to a book signing and said he was a total dick. Then I've had some people meet him like out somewhere and just kind of ran into him and he was cool as shit. So I guess it just kind of depends on. I think it's like anything. It kind of depends on what kind of mood the celebrity's in.
Yeah, I think it depends on the time of the month or something too.
It could be, yeah. So, which I think me and Chris both have said our opinions on the whole Ellefson Mustaine issue on here. So we don't really agree with how that was handled, but we're not in the band. We're not in the band, so we can't really,
Yeah, those are some dark days. Like, that was ridiculous. It's talking about kicking a guy when he's down.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Yeah. And then wound up being everything false anyway. So.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's kind of like you should have waited to our opinion. Right. You should have waited to hear what came of the case before you decided what to do. So.
Yeah, and Mustaine was waiting.
I think he was just waiting for the excuse. Yeah.
And Mustaine was putting Ellefson to work hard on that album too. Like I remember, me and Dave were at this convention, Mad Monster Party. Mustaine kept on calling him up like, "I need your help me with lyrics." And then so as we're doing the signing stuff, like Dave had to run up to the hotel room and help Mustaine write lyrics for the fucking thing. And it is. So it's. And the fact he doesn't even get a thank you in that thing, and they took off his bass parts. It's because
that's what pissed me off the most. That's what pissed me off.
Re-recording his parts, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's your band. You're free to do with it what you want. And even though we disagreed with the bottom line of his firing, but to completely undo all the work he already put in, I thought that was the biggest bullshit snub of all of it. Of course, the whole guilty until proven innocent thing. I never agree with that in any.
That really pissed me off too.
but I mean, to completely shit can all of his work that he put in, and his name's not even on the album. I think that's bullshit.
And to be honest with you, like it'll be fine coming from me, but Mustaine resented Ellison because he was sober, and Mustaine isn't, and so that's for 30 years. He's been on and off the wagon, but Ellison's been consistently on the wagon for over 30 years. Mustaine held a grudge against him for that because you toured with him, and Ellison was generally a good dude who wouldn't fuck around, whereas Mustaine would, and and it's just, but you know what? At the end of the day, it's good that they're away from each other, So Ellison's so much happier now than he would be if he was on tour with Megadeth.
Well, I think it's one of those things like where we always talk about this, like without Metallica getting rid of Mustaine, we wouldn't have Megadeth. I mean, with him kicking Ellison out, Ellison's got so many projects that are freaking awesome, man.
Yeah,
I'm just glad that nothing like that kept him down. That's the main thing. Is
right? Yeah.
You're probably late 50s at this point. So it's kind of like you could have very easally just rolled over and said, "Hey, I'm just going to ride this on out." But no, he didn't.
It was almost like that too. I remember right as he was going through that, he was like, because the Dwellers was already done and the Lucid album was already done.
Yeah.
And it's funny too because before the Scandal thing, we shopped the Lucid album around to every single record label imaginable, and they all passed on it. Those pieces of shits.
Wow.
But so I got stuck with being the record label for that. So thank you.
Wow.
But
that's crazy.
Yeah. But so all that, he had a lot of stuff done, and he was pretty much thinking about, I'm going to get out of music and just open up a golf course or something. And I remember I told him, just, it's okay to be done, but be done on your own terms.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Don't about all that stuff. And he was getting death threats. I remember somebody put his home address and his phone number saying to go kill his family. It was a ridiculous time because the younger generation, they latch on to shit like that and try and blow it up as much as they can. And
exactly.
And it's just a lot of these parents aren't there to teach these young psychos what's right and wrong and how to how to take in information, and how to assess.
Right.
Where it's such a negative response, which they think they're doing a positive because they're trying to oust somebody when they're not even guilty. It's insane.
Yeah, it's definitely a two-sided sword. So.
Oh yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Well, hell, I remember when we first talked about it when the story first came out. The two of us, we were both in general kind of skeptical about the enormity of the whole thing, as far as like all the details. It's like that doesn't sound right. And then obviously as time went by, more and more stuff came out, and even like the female was like, whoa, none of that shit ever happened. I was a willing participant in this, and when everything happened, I was of age. None of that shit that he's being accused of happened, and so it's like exactly.
People have more contact at strip clubs because him and this girl never even did anything in person,
Right.
And
obviously what happened, what he did is obviously at the end of the day, it's the business of him and his wife at the time. It's just, that's their business. That's their business to handle. But and of course we didn't condone what Dave did as far as his marriage goes. But when it came to him and the other person involved, she was like, none of that happened. It's all
It's a really boring story if you break it down, because it's like it's no worse than somebody whacking it to one of those campsites or something. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's the same exact thing.
And the thing that kills me is like we still do stories about Dave or Megadeth, either one. We do Ellison or Megadeth. We do stories, and then in that story, Loudwire and them seem to want to put that shit in the bottom of it.
They just won't. They won't let it go.
I'm like, dude, that shit was last year. Leave it the fuck alone. Like it's over.
And it's obvious, like we said it out loud here, but Mustaine was behind that scandal. No,
yeah.
Wouldn't that be something though?
You can't ever tell. So.
I was about to say, would I be surprised? Not really.
Yeah, same here, to be honest with you, because he was just looking for any excuse to get rid of him, because he was
I would like to hope. I would like to hope he's not that vindictive, but I mean, you know.
Yeah, I think he's too. He's too aloof to
That's true. I mean, don't get me. Don't get me wrong. You know, Dave Mustaine has got his opinions and he shares them. But I mean, as far as any like vindictiveness going that far, I don't really see it. But you know,
that's
I think it's kind of like Jason says. I kind of think like Dave was like, all right, just give me one thing. Just give me one thing that I can be like, that's strike three. That's strike three.
That's exactly what it was.
And yeah, I think that's kind of what it was.
It's unfortunate too, man. You know, as talented as they were together, it's just freaking sad that it had to happen like that. So.
Yeah, they're always going to love each other. You know, they're always going to be brothers like that. You know, I know they have not spoke since, but the thing with Mustaine though, he doesn't give people or anybody in the world a chance to say nice things about him. He's got to be the one to say how good he is before anybody else can. So it kind of becomes
he got that Yngwie Malmsteen syndrome.
Exactly, except for when Yngwie does it, it's funny. You know?
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, we do have kind of a running joke here that whenever we talk about one of his albums, you know, whoever brings it up, the other one of us chimes in with album of the year. So you know, it's kind of a running joke here. So.
Yngwie likes donuts.
Yeah, I
don't know if you knew that or not.
And Yngwie is an awesome fucking guitar player.
Oh,
you know, he's just a butt of a joke here. He's not. We're not like really dissing him in any way. So
release the fucking fury.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. That's and then he named an album after that, so you know he's got a sense of humor about
it. Yeah. He's
great.
Yeah, but I mean, he's just an otherworldly guitar player, and he'll tell you all about it. So he'll definitely tell you all about it.
And then it's one of those things where he's telling you about it, you're like, he's right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he is right. He's not wrong at all. But definitely.
So Mustain's very sloppy. He's like a thrash metal Jimmy Page. You know, he's kind of a sloppy guy, but as far as all that, that's why he's always got the other guy there. But but anyways.
And like that's another thing is he's always hit the like jackpot with that for some reason. Like, you know, you had Marty Friedman, now you got Kiko. It's like, man, he's like, you know, Chris
Broderick.
Yeah, so I mean he's
Chris Broderick and Chris Poland. So I mean,
Poland, that's the one I was thinking about. Poland,
Jeff Young and Al Pitrelli.
He's just
even Glenn Drover.
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't tell you, we're talking about a 30+ year career, and how many guitarists as we just named off?
Exactly. Whereas Bang Tango,
that should tell you something.
Whereas Bang Tango, I think I was like the 36th guitar player or something.
Yeah.
It's really no wonder. It's really no wonder it took you 4 years to make that movie, because like Jesus Christ, the amount of people he had to interview.
Yeah, I tried to get every single person I could find. I tried to get everybody, and I got most, and some declined. Surprisingly.
Oh, really?
Okay. I seen Ricky on there. It was pretty cool to see.
Oh, I love Ricky. Yeah. He's
I just caught his show here in Nashville a couple weeks ago. It's really entertaining stuff there. So.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. He's still doing all that too.
Yeah. He's actually I think he's going to do another tour. I think he said maybe in a year or two, and then he's going to write a book. I really hope, like, there were some pictures he showed there that has never been seen. I kind of hope he does like a photo album type book with all those that never been seen photos. I think he would really do good with that. Honestly, I think a lot of people.
He had a fascinating couple years there. You know, with the Cat House and Hebbinger's Ball and all that, and just the stories are incredible. I think he's somebody you'd want to go and listen to. Talk stories.
And just hearing him say that thing, saying those things about Bang Tango, that you know what kind of band they were, because he was just kind of like, well, I didn't really want to bring those guys in and let them live or nothing. And
I give him credit for that too. I give him a lot of credit for that too. At least he was honest about it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
He said, then I saw him live, and he's like, you know what? These guys are pretty good. So But I always wrap Bang Tango in with that Trickster.
Oh yeah, see, they're on the same label.
Yeah.
So Mechanic Records.
I think,
which funnily,
the thing with Trickster was so bad is I think they came in on the right tail end of all the grunge, was picking up right when they started. And I thought, man, it's just so unfortunate for those guys, because they're really, really good, and for them to just get pushed to the back of the shelf because grunge was taking over was kind of shitty. But
No, right, yeah. And small world thing is that the guy that ran Mechanic Records, Steve Sinclair, he's the one that signed Megadeth to Combat Records. For
Oh wow!
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
It is weird how weird how that 6 degrees of separation shit happens a lot of times.
It's a lot of intertwining things in the music business that's so crazy to me. Just kind of like, oh wow, really? Like,
so, oh yeah, it's ridiculous. Like at one point, the guy who's in Korn now, the drummer Ray Luzier.
Yeah,
he was in Bang Tango for a minute.
Oh really? Well, damn. Wow, that's crazy. But it was you were seeing all the people on there, and like some of the bands they're in now, and you're like, wow, that's one guy was with Dio, and one guy was with.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of like crazy how many bands kind of like intertwined with Bang Tango. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah. Hell, one thing we forgot to mention talking about Megadeth's guitar players, Kerry King was in. Kerry King was in Slayer for like 5 seconds, and it's like, yeah, I can't work with this guy.
Oh yeah. And Mike Albert too. He was because Chris Poland, I don't think he toured with Megadeth till Peace Sells, because the Killing Is My Business album was Mike Albert on guitar and Kerry King at the very, very beginning. But Mike Albert's an awesome guy, and he works a ton. He's very talented though.
Yeah, well, I think Kerry made the right choice. So
yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah, I mean, who headlines the big fours when they do them? I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, it's kind of the same. Well, it's kind of the same thing. Kerry King was in Megadeth technically for, like I say, for about 5 seconds, and then Dimebag was this close, but Dave wouldn't take Vinnie Paul. So I mean. All of the and like we've talked about this before, all of the shit that could have happened, but didn't, and then what we got out of it because of what
So we're kind of glad it did.
Metallica creates Megadeth. Megadeth could have had half of Pantera, but didn't. So Pantera got to stay, and then would we have still had Slayer if Kerry King would have stayed? But he didn't, so we got to keep Slayer, and then But to backtrack just for a second, because we were talking about MCA and all that shit, one of the things that irritated me, because Jason, you brought up Trickster and everything. One thing that has always irritated me, but was reinforced by the documentary, talking about, we talked about the third album, Love After Death. It was 2 years in the making. MCA paid for it, all that shit, and then decided because they weren't Nirvana and all that shit, they decided because they weren't part of the new shiny new toy that they were just going to shit can it. That has always annoyed the shit out of me about record labels, and I'm kind of glad that things are the way they are now with the recording industry, because a lot of these bands don't need these labels anymore, so they kind of did it to themselves. Because I mean, they pawned Bang Tango off on Randy fucking Jackson of all people.
Right. Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. So they did that shit to themselves. I
remember the one guy. I remember the one guy saying, like, Randy Jackson, "What's up, dog?" Hey, he said, "I knew it was over."
And it turns out, I found out that he was the A&R guy, but the main reason they got dropped and that album didn't come out was when they were being courted by all the labels before the first album, when they were getting about to get signed. They blew one of the guys off. And I think he worked for Columbia at the time. And then that same guy became like the head fella at MCA.
Oh, so he was just holding. He was holding a grudge.
Yeah. So the first thing he did was drop Bang Tango.
Wow.
He was holding a grudge. That's shit.
That's freaking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess we kind of gotten intertwined into some other stuff, but we got some like Invade Malmsteen and stuff. Kind of reminded me of, like, I don't think we ever asked you kind of who some of your influences were to play guitar. So
probably Jimmy Page and Zakk Wylde, and I'd probably stick with those two. I've always been a big Zeppelin geek.
Okay.
Since I was a kid, just the way he paints sound. Especially as a producer and everything, and that always made me happy to listen to and figure out how he did and all that. And ironically, working with Mike Heller, the drummer from the Lucid, he only lets me have 2 guitar tracks, and and so I don't get to do that at all.
we got to fix that. So
well, I tried that with this other thing I put together called Zen from Mars. It kind of came out, kind of didn't come out, and that ended up being a fucking mess because the songs were awesome, but it just this creative differences is a real thing. And then,
exactly.
And it's just when you have too much to work with, there's too many possibilities, and then it's kind of loses its soul. But at some point, I don't know. I kind of that was my baby for many years, just getting that thing made and getting done, and then it kind of went flop. And then me and Mike put together the Lucid, and I never checked them out. I never checked out Greta Van Fleet. I'm not to be honest with you, I don't really listen to music anymore. I know it sounds douchey or whatever, but it's been too many fucking years. I just get so jaded and listening to grooves, like listening to anything, especially new. Because nowadays, like you put on something like a popular new song, and it's like part death metal, part Backstreet Boys, part funk. I feel like I'm having a fucking stroke. And
I'll say that I'm not a big Greta Van Fleet fan, so
I heard they I guess they sound like Zeppelin or something, or like Aerosmith. That's cool.
They do, and Jason, I'll readily admit I'm not a fan of Greta Van Fleet, and I've said it before on the show. And Drew, I hope you don't hold this against me, but I've never been a Led Zeppelin fan either.
That's totally cool.
So
are you more of a Kiss guy?
Well, between the two, I would say yes.
Okay, because it's interesting. I always find that either somebody's like a Zeppelin guy or a Kiss guy. And
well, here's the funny thing. Between Kiss and Led Zeppelin, I'm more of a Kiss guy, but in the grand scope, I'm neither. Really, if that makes any sense. But if you're making me choose between the two, I'd rather listen to Kiss than Led Zeppelin. Of course, like I said, we talked about this. I have never disrespected Led Zeppelin. I've never downplayed the numbers or their influence or anything. It's just I've just never been a fan.
You like what you like, and that's
I think if we're talking about bands from kind of that era, we would be more Black Sabbath.
Absolutely.
I love Sabbath.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, but so I know of Greta Van Fleet, but it's not my cup of tea either.
I'll be honest. I used to love Led Zeppelin until I turned on the radio and heard it every fucking station I turned it.
Oh
on.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave me a distaste for them.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
And it's a damn shame because they have great songwriting. I think Zeppelin has some of the best songwriting out there. But.
And that's the cool thing, because then you check out like some of the live versions of the same songs, and it's like a whole different song. It's like it went off, but they're more like a jam band kind of thing, But yeah, I mean, everybody's allowed to like what they like, and that's
I think that's what makes metal like so big as it is, though, is because you have so many subgenres of it, and there's like so many fans of each subgenre that it keeps all of it afloat. Like there's enough fans of all of it, it keeps it all afloat, and it's awesome. I think
that's awesome. And at the same time, if you were to compare it to why it isn't as successful as it was in 20-25 years, it's because back then you watch TV and you're only able to soak in what you were shown on TV.
Exactly.
And that was a market. You watch MTV, you're going to get everything from, you had to watch the hip hop videos to get to the rock videos, this, that, and the other. You had it on and you were aware. The same thing with the radio. But now there's too much variety and too much choice, too many markets and submarkets. You'll never be able to reach any of these people who are just secluded into what they like and listen to. And so in a way, it's almost like tunnel vision, I suppose. But so it's be interesting to hear how things grow from here. I guess
that's why we're here, Drew.
That's right.
to give it to them. We're throwing it there. Here's some new shit. Listen to it. So
that's right.
It is cool because I actually do create a playlist for the show every week and put it on Spotify, and it's all new release music. So there's nothing.
That's awesome.
There's nothing older in there. So hopefully that people that do listen can go in and pick out a new band that they may not have heard of, and they say, "Oh, this band's badass," and start supporting those bands because without us, there are no bands. We, as fans, we have to, go out and support these guys. So, and that's, I love metal, and I want to be, the guy 80 years old in the front row still jamming out to whoever, winds up being the big name by then. So
our arthritic fingers barely able to throw the or shit like that.
You're like a half or something. Like
all gnarled and shit. Yeah,
it look like almost like a Vulcan death grip or something.
Yeah.
It's like the movie Take My Hand, and it's all with the little hand.
Oh yeah.
Use my strong hand.
Yeah, the strong hand. Yeah.
I want to be like Chris. I want to be like Sir Christopher Lee and put out a heavy metal album at 95 years old.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So is there like a favorite guitar that you like to play, or?
I've always been like a Les Paul.
Les Paul guy.
Yeah, I got a Strat, and it's funny. It's like a whole different instrument to me. I like to jump from one to the other. But Les Paul customs. It's always been the one I'm most comfortable with, I suppose.
I think the craziest thing I've seen.
You could do a lot worse, that's for sure.
I think the craziest thing I've seen lately, I had been shopping for a new bass because I'm actually talking about picking that back up just to play around with and do some, just to be doing something. But I guess like it started like seeing some of my, searches, so it started throwing me these ideas, in my sponsored list thing. So of course, and like there was a guitar on there. It was like a 6-neck electric guitar. I'm just like, who
was it, like a Rick Nielsen guitar?
Yeah, I'm like, who the hell can play that? It was I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'd be confused, man. I'd be like, which one am I supposed to hit?
And there was this one band, kind of obscure, called T-Ride, and they're from like the late 80s, early 90s. The one guy from it's really successful producer now, but it was a very experimental album they put out. It's still to this day. It's hard to explain, but they made this one guitar to where like each string had its own pickup, and so each string had its own distinct sound. So check out the T-Ride album. It's out of this world. It's like late 80s, early 90s, and it's kind of like they opened up for White Zombie around that time, before White Zombie like hit big, and but yeah, really, really cool, interesting band, T-Ride.
Cool. So just so you know, we have like a list that we keep with everything.
Oh, cool.
We talked to guests and they're like, oh, you should check out this band or this band. So we got like all this stuff. We write down to check out. So
I've got so many scribbles on headers of pages in this notebook. It's ridiculous.
But it's cool.
But again, it's kind of like the current day cassette trade, more or less.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason, I actually think I saw a picture of that.
Yeah.
I think I saw a picture of that.
Which it doesn't surprise me. I believe Steve had something, like a double or triple neck or some crap when he was playing with David Lee, didn't he?
Did he have the? And I was thinking about this a second ago when you were talking about the one guitar, Jason. Didn't somebody have like a guitar in the shape of a heart, and then the next did this? Was that?
Oh, Michelangelo.
Okay,
right? Michelangelo Badio? He had the four-neck guitar
so.
that spun around?
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's what it is.
You got to be able to play the left hand and right hand with that thing.
Yeah. I just...
No. What band was that? Nitro? I think that was Nitro, right?
I think maybe.
Oh, I'd have to look
Runaway
it up.
Train, I think was a song.
I think you might be right. You might be right.
Who was the singer? Something Gillette. I forget. He was the original singer of Tough, and then he started. But yeah, Michelangelo guy is ridiculous.
I'd have to look it up for sure, but yeah, I think you might.
It's one of those things you watch the music video, it's the most 80s thing you ever see, and then this guy shows up his fucking four-neck guitar, and you just can't help but chuckle. You're like, holy shit, what am I doing? It's like a parody, but it's not. But it's even more so because it's not meant to be. Kind of
Jason actually said he thinks it's Nitro too.
I think it is. I think it is. Yeah, I do believe it is.
Yeah. Well, we glad we got some people in the chats here that can help us along.
And I'm not telling people to listen to Nitro by any means. I mean, that's on you. But,
right.
Right.
Yeah. Check out the video. Runaway Train or something like that. The guitar solo shows up and there's like fire and he's got a four-neck guitar spinning around. And it's like a circus.
Metalheads United does not sponsor these.
Right. Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Exactly.
Oh man. So
well, it's funny too. I think Chris Adler, who was in Megadeth, I think he's part of like what almost was a revival of Nitro a couple years ago after he left Megadeth.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the craziest thing. So do with that as you will. With that
information. Isn't he in Kings of Thrash too?
No, not Chris.
No. What project? I know Chris Adler is part of something right now. What the hell?
I think Firstborn. Was that Firstborn?
That's what it is. That's what it is. Yes.
Lamenzo's in that too, I think, or something, isn't he?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. I knew there was a Megadeth tie-in somewhere in there, and I was like, son of a bitch. Yeah, you're right. That's what it is. Firstborn. Yeah, that's what it is. Again, there's so many little strings on push pins that are on a board somewhere, and Charlie Day is going.
Yeah, Pepe Sylvia.
So Drew, what were you doing in between the time that Bang Tango ended and then you started doing stuff with the Lucid? Were you doing other projects in between, or
just
doing solo stuff? Or
let's see. So I was in Bang Tango until like 2017, and then throughout that time I was trying to work on the Zen for Mars stuff. Then I ended up joining Chuck Mosley from Faith No More. His
right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And I love and miss Chuck so very much. Yeah, he was one of the most genuine people I've ever met. And then I got into acting. I was in the first thing I was in was this movie called Her Name Was Krista, which is the most romantic necrophilia love story ever told.
Oh my God!
And the comedic relief. And,
may have to watch that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's on Tubi, Amazon.
Oh shit, I got Tubi. I have Tubi.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, it's yeah. And I was in this other one called Brimstone Incorporated. It's like a low budget creep show horror anthology kind of thing. And and then that was 2017, 2018. And then I made there is other stuff too. I wrote an autobiography as a joke. And because everybody else was writing them, I was like, all right, let's have some fun with this. It's called Dark, Depressing, and Hilarious. It's about the Bang Tango stuff and Chuck Mosley and getting into acting and everything. And that was 2018. And then what did they do around then? And then I made Dwellers, which is a horror movie made for $0 over 4 non-consecutive days, and somehow it counts as a movie. And it won like 20 awards or something.
Yeah, I seen that. I was like, man, it won all kind of awards. I got to check this out. So
people have no taste anymore. But
well, that is true to a certain extent. It absolutely is.
But I'm doing the movie a favor. As I downsell it, it'll seem a lot better once you watch it. It's a piece of shit, you know. Okay.
It's reverse psychology. Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I'm incredibly proud of it, though. All my heart and soul, anything I do, my heart and soul goes into it, you know, big time.
I was going to say, I would be, even if like one person said I would be too.
Oh yeah. It's
I would be too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and then
it's always hard, like especially if you're in a movie, like it's always hard to be like they'll tell you like, oh, you know, director or whoever, PA, who's, oh, well, you need to be here and here, and this is what we're going to do, and you're just the whole time thinking, man, that's fucking stupid.
Oh yeah.
So you have to like nonchalantly go up and say, hey man, what if we did this? Can we do this over here? And then like I kind of just did that like over the weekend, and then he's oh yeah, that'll be a lot better. And I was like, okay, cool, that's what we're going to do.
Got to make a face their idea. Exactly.
Get myself out of a stupid situation. So.
Oh yeah, being receptive is very important for sure. And Dwellers, it's a found footage movie, so it's like Blair Witch. And,
okay, cool.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that's why it was so easy and kind of felt a little bit more genuine versus if it was a proper narrative, it would be unwatchable, you know. But but so it's I play myself in it, and Ellison's in it, and all that, and it's it's a fun thing. It starts off as like a kind of like a mockumentary, then we end up in the sewers, and it just monsters show up, and it's
nice.
It kind of reminds me of that zombie movie I did like years ago, where it was kind of I don't know, it's kind of like a sort of like kind of like that, like a documentary type thing. It didn't wind up being like actually a movie, so it kind of turned into that throughout the movie. But it was
awesome. It's like a Diary of the Dead. I think Romero did that one. It's like a found footage part of his zombie series stuff and all that. But yeah, found footage is fun. But then I think I found out there's a whole market of that too. And then people are incredibly picky. They're like, that's not found footage.
Yeah, they actually called that project a zombie. I never heard of that before, but yeah, so it's kind of funny. Cool. I was like, I never heard of that before. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think zombie movies make its way back in about 5-10 years because of the Walking Dead thing. There's just too much of that shit in my opinion.
Yeah, I got burnt out. I told my wife, I said, now that the Walking Dead, because there's all these spin-offs coming out, I said, I am not watching I said, I am done with the Walking Dead. I said, I'm so done.
Well, the thing that they're trying to do is they're trying to tie in like the three. I can't remember like the new show that just came out, but they're trying to tie in the Fear of the Walking Dead, and that new one. They're trying to tie it all in together. So.
Well, I know, but I'm
and then I think they're going to actually do them. And I think they're actually going to do the movie, and then they're all going to wound up reuniting with Rick in the movie. So,
oh wow,
I dropped off. He is supposed to be back for the movie, but
I dropped off after season 2, and then they got.
So to me, I didn't even get interested in it until 3. So
whenever they got stuck in the prison, it's when I dropped off.
I think that was 3. Yeah,
I dropped off at 3.
That was season 3.
Yeah, that's when I first got interested in it. I was just
wow.
Yeah. So.
See, that's the funny thing is my wife and I, we didn't watch it right from the start, but my daughter was like, you guys have got to watch this show. And finally we begrudgingly started watching it. When we started watching, we got into it. And then, I got to see what's next. I was getting irritated with it, but I was like, son of a bitch, I got to see what's next. And then it got all the way up to season fucking 11. And I told my wife, I said, after this show ends, I am done. I said, I don't want to watch any. I was like, I'm to the point now where I don't care what happens next with this character and that character. I was like, I'm done. I am so done.
Well, I think the thing that like
got burnt out.
I think the thing that really like screwed it up was they a lot of the characters had to wind up doing other things, so they wrote them out of the actual show when they were actually still alive in the comic books. So it was kind of like you had to like rewrite to try to stay with the comic book and then rewrite to kind of stay with the storyline. So it's kind of like, I imagine that's kind of hard to try to do and still try to make it watchable. So
I thought the first season was perfect. Like just, if it was just one season and then just call it a mini series, I thought that was my personal opinion. I thought the first season was just.
Well, I mean, we were just talking about this the other day because I'm an Assassin's Creed fan. I love those video games, and then they made the movie, and I'm just like, eh.
I remember I saw the movie and I wasn't too.
So I think like they really, I already got this on tape, so they got to give me credit. So
that's right.
So I said, I told Chris the other night, I said, man, they need to make a mini series out of that where the guys in the little memory chamber the start of each episode, and then that goes in like each episode's a memory.
Right.
So I mean, that would be a great series. I think you could probably do 4 or 5 seasons like that.
Yeah, that's something that would benefit from being fleshed out more.
Yeah. It's like you can't jam 6 games into one movie. It's like
you really did. You have to pick and choose. And that's the funny thing is I've never really even played Assassin's Creed, but I mean by doing that, like one movie, you are losing a lot of you're losing a lot of content. So it's a little crazy. But The Walking Dead started off great. And the funny thing is Daryl Dixon was never in he was an original. He was an original creation. So But yeah, after about the 5th season, it was like, okay, they're going to fight somebody else and, all this other stuff. And then, all of the convoluted ways that they didn't beat the bad guy. It's like he was standing right there. All you had to do was shoot him. He was right there. Why didn't you shoot him? He was right there. And then like the season goes on for another 8 episodes until they finally got the bad guy. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
So frustrating. And Brian that just popped up, Brian Borowski, he's an incredible person. He actually he runs a bike shop, like bicycles. Okay. And he made a Lucid bike.
Oh, cool. That'd be a cool to see that.
He's a great drummer too. Brian Borowski just popped up. He's a good,
nice.
Good
we appreciate you jumping in.
Yeah, thanks for watching, Brian. Thank you.
But yeah,
all right, so you talked about when you were at Rocklahoma. That's when you met, Dave.
Oh yeah. That's when I was in Bang Tango.
Yeah, so you were in Bang Tango. So how did your departure come about, and then the meeting with Ellison lead into the Lucid forming?
It's about a 3-year. Well, I'd known Ellison for about like 4 or 5 years before Lucid, but I met him at Oklahoma. And we hit it off. We realized it's like, hey, are we related? What are we doing here? Let's go.
Did you have a stepbrothers moment? Did we just become best friends?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it was just pretty instant, and a lot of love and trust there from the get go, and it's still to this day. And he's a wonderful human. And with the Bang Tango thing, I just, like I said, Bang Tango, different season, different lineup. So I at some point I just kind of was just like, all right, I'm going to do this now. And I think to this day, I don't think they even realize I'm not there anymore. But
Joe might not.
He keeps on calling the new guy Drew.
Yeah.
But
I mean, from what we know of all that, I mean, they kind of just, when it's talking about, they kind of just went off of a tour and then they were just like, just didn't communicate. So it's like, okay, I guess we're done.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like nobody even knew the status of the band at that point. So
that's kind of how it was too, because Lance was a mainstay, the bass player, and he handled a lot of the business for the band for about like 15, 18 years or something ridiculous like that. He was in there a long time. So he was always there. And then the other positions kind of always kind of switched around. So, and when I was in the band, we didn't do that. We did maybe like 30, 40 shows, maybe over like 2-3 years, or however long I was in there, 2 years. But there was always just weekend shows. The Rocklahoma run was probably the longest one. It lasted maybe a week. And then we do like a one-off in Vegas, play the Whiskey once a year, which I'm sure they still do. And just a couple shows in Colorado, But and it was always kind of like, all right, the same people kind of keep showing up for the Bang Tango shows, so I guess this is the lineup right now.
Yeah. I know it was kind of crazy. Like one of the videos toward the end there, they were in that big old stadium, and it was like almost totally empty. It was like, oh man, that's just
that was
sad, dude.
It's a funny story about that too, because the original ending it ended abruptly when Joe was just kind of like, oh, he's on the bus, and which is one of the darkest interviews ever. The whole thing uncut. He's on the tour bus in the back, and I'm interviewing him, and he's got a lot of shadows on him and all that, and he's being very odd and reflective. And it was just going to end abruptly where he was like, oh, yeah, that was them. Who cares? And but Lance and a couple of other guys were like, you just should do like a more uplifting ending. I was like, all right. And he was like, we're playing a big show at the DTE Music Theater, Pine Knob in Michigan.
Yeah, Pine Knob. That's actually my neck of the woods. So
nice.
I'm originally I was born in Ann Arbor, so
cool.
I'm from that area. So I actually when I got to the end and they were like, yeah, we're gonna do a show at Pine Knob, I was like, oh shit, and then I saw the crowd, I was like, oh shit.
No, you're right, exactly. So they were like, we're playing this big show, and it was Bang Tango opening for Dio Disciples and Great White and Queensryche. And they were expecting it to be a huge crowd. That'd be the ending, like Bang Tango. But the doors open at 6:50 p.m. Bang Tango started at like 7. And, and I'm out there with the camera.
So there's nobody there. Gotcha.
That's not their fault. Yeah. As the director and editor, I'm seeing this. I was like, oh, this is gold. This is a great ending. This is so great.
Especially with kind of the whole motif of the documentary, I would say it probably was kind of apropos of the whole story. I did want to ask you something though. It's correct me if I'm wrong thing, but Mark and Kyle started Bang Tango, correct?
Yes, that sounds.
Yeah, and then Joe was kind of like discovered and kind of brought into the band, if I remember right.
Yeah, because he auditioned. Yeah, he was auditioning for another band's vocalist.
Okay,
and then that band. Yeah.
Right,
I'm here to rock.
So okay. So Mark and Kyle, they formed the band, and then Joe ultimately became the first lead singer. How was it that when the band broke up, that Joe was able to just keep on, because he's still, obviously still to this day, he is Bang Tango with, like you say, whoever the hell he's got on stage with him right now. How did he keep the name? Because I remember at one point during the movie, it was 6 months after Mark's wedding. He said he called me up out of the blue and said, I want you to do the band again because you deserve it. And Mark got pissed at me.
Yeah.
What do you mean I deserve it? Yeah, what do you mean I deserve it? It's my fucking band. So how exactly did Joe, when the breakup happened after the European tour, how did Joe get to keep the name without any like pushback or anything? Do you have any idea how that happened?
To be honest with you, I don't think anybody owns the name. I think anybody could start up a band called Bang Tango.
Okay.
That was a trademark that lapsed, I think, in like 98 or 99.
Oh, okay. All right.
So technically, I guess somebody could buy the trademark right now and charge the band X amount every year to tour like Little River Band. But yeah, so like I think it's just a matter of like nobody told him he couldn't. So,
gotcha.
Because I mean, you hear about the Great White, Jack Russell's Great White, Venom, and Venom Inc. So
there was two Bang Tangos at one point too. There's Bang Tango, Joe's Bang Tango, and Bang Tango Redux, and it was the original guys with a different singer named Michael DeMay.
Right.
I think they did like 2 shows, and that was about it. But they just wanted to show that they could do it, and they did.
Okay. Okay.
Cool.
Because I thought about all these because when that came up, I was like, well, how the hell did he just get to just free and clear, just get to keep the name? Because that's immediately what I thought. I was like, there's been all sorts of lawsuits about this name and that name and everything else. They drag it through the mud. Then there's like 2 offshoots, and LA Guns is the same way. Mm-hmm. So how the hell did he just? Okay.
I think that they were a bit lower on the radar as far as that stuff. Like nobody really kept an eye on and all that. So it's just kind of like nobody's ever has gone after them because there is nothing to go after for because the trademark lapsed, and I think it's just kind of sitting there. But with that, though, I think you do get the band's debt as well if you purchase that, if I'm not mistaken. But because they still were upside down for Love After Death, they were able to. MCA gave them the album to do whatever they wanted with, but they still had.
I was going to ask. I was going to ask about that next because we were talking about the album earlier in the show, and because I remember Mark saying that and Brian, you like Rat, yeah, absolutely. Thankfully, I think Rat is working their shit out. I think Bobby Blotzer and Stephen Pierce are like this close to burying the hatchet. I kind of hope it happens, but I remember Mark talking about. When they got dropped, MCA was like, here, just take the record and do with it whatever you want. So that when I heard that, and then I heard the part in, later on where they were talking about no one knows where the album is. It's like, how the hell does no one know where the album is? MCA said they could have it. How the hell did it disappear?
Yeah, right.
So that was another thing that kind of boggled my mind because I even looked it up it's not on Spotify, so I mean, it's like nowhere to be found.
I think, Joe has the physical masters. I know that. And but as far as the publishing, I don't think they ever registered any of that. No. I think that's the thing. And I forgot if I put it in the movie or not, but that MCA spent $1 million on that album.
Wow.
You didn't.
You didn't specify the amount,
yeah. They didn't talk about the exact amount, but they talked about 2 years, a lot of money. But then, the exact figure never came out.
$1 million.
Yeah,
you just write it off, man. So that's crazy.
See, that still boggles my mind. If I would have been part of MCA, I'd have been pissed. I would have been pissed if somebody would have made that decision. We spent how much for nothing?
The thing is, if that album was as good as everybody says it is, I mean, they probably would have made that back, and then some. I mean,
at that time, anywhere between the years of 92 and 95. When it was supposed to come out, it would have done just fine.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, because I mean, there were still a lot of those bands still around doing things. I mean,
I mean, hell, even if it would have broke even, I mean, when you're gambling, breaking even is winning. So I mean,
right,
at worst, I mean, you would have hoped they could have at least got that $1 million back, but.
Oh yeah. And to be honest with you, Bang Tango's first misstep was the breaking up Heart of Stone video because it was pretty much the same set as Someone Like You.
Man.
And so they got pinpointed for kind of copying themselves, which I think led to them going so far indifferent for Dancing on Coals. And so in a way, it's like it's kind of collapsed in on itself a bit. But incredible guys.
Which the title track to Dancing on Coals is still a banger, though.
Yeah.
It's still a banger.
That was a fun one to play too. That's
I bet.
Shows.
I bet.
That was a good one. That was good too.
But I think that's where a lot of bands lose their sales is because they try to change with what's kind of like that era. A lot of bands were trying to be grungy and get away from their original sound. And I think a lot of fans that were already, they already built that fan base were kind of like, oh man, what are you doing? And they kind of lost a lot of fan base that way.
Oh yeah, and crazy thing.
No, I was just going to say that kind of makes sense, because I kind of agree with you, because that was one of the things, like right at the beginning, that very first group interview where Joe was like, "There's no bars on us. We do whatever the hell we want." Because I mean, at first he was just referring to his vocal range, but then he started talking about the band as a whole. It's like, we can play whatever we want, and all of the people like Ricky and everybody who was just offering their take from the outside looking in. They're like, they were original. They didn't sound like anybody else. And then they definitely kind of was like, I don't know if they were consciously doing that, but they did kind of, fall off the track as far as that's concerned, I think, a little bit.
And they fit in, so they could have survived the grunge thing too, and they hung out with those guys anyway. Like Joe was dating Mike Starr's sister, the bass player from Alice in Chains. And the song Untied and True on Dancing on Coals, that's about Mike Starr's sister. Oh, and there were, I think there was a mini tour, a couple of shows. Here's the lineup from the opening to headliner: Alice in Chains, Mother Love Bone, Bang Tango. And some of those shows did happen back then. Yeah. And they toured. And there's another thing too. I don't know. I don't think I put it in the movie, but I haven't seen it in so long. But Joe Lestay and Mark Knight helped write an Alice in Chains song called "Fear the Voices," and it came out on and they get thanked on Dirt. Like, you look at the thank yous on the Dirt album.
All right.
And that song ended up coming out in the Music Box set, and I think you can find it anywhere now. But because Mike Starr, the bass player at the time, wanted to bring some more songs to the table for Alice in Chains, and so he was like, "Hey, Joe and Mark, can I help you write something to bring to them?" And that was Fear the Voices.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But to be fair though, was Alice in Chains was probably the more harder band out of those grunge bands. So
yeah.
They were glammy too early on.
They were.
Yeah, they were. But Alice in Chains absolutely ended up being the closest to a metal band out of all of the
they're like Sabbath.
All of the grunge bands. I'll get it out in a minute, but yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And to see that's another thing that I blame record labels for. Record labels, of course, obviously hindsight, all day long, but we're talking 30 years ago, but 30 to 35 years ago, because 88 was 35 years ago. But record labels, they latched on to one thing and they just held on to it all when they could have and should have just diversified everything. And they literally could have put out something for everybody, and they should have done that. If you want to represent the hot new thing, fine, but don't put all your eggs in one basket, because grunge actually fell off pretty quick.
Yeah.
As far as a genre of its own, grunge actually fell off pretty quick, and I don't know if it would have fallen off as quick if Kurt Cobain wouldn't have killed himself. Who knows? That's a what if, But it happened, and I mean, you could basically say that as far as grunge goes, the only survivor is Alice in Chains, and of course, Alice in Chains isn't Alice in Chains, because because we lost.
Well, I mean, Pearl Jam's still around.
Yeah, you say Pearl Jam.
They're still around, but I mean. I know they're still around, but I mean, is it really?
They definitely changed their style quite a bit.
Exactly.
More like they went back in time. They sound like a 70s band.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, they kind of like their second album was kind of like off the cliff from 10. So I mean,
yeah.
It's kind of like, wait, is this the same Pearl Jam? Like, what the hell?
And after grunge, it was like what was popular after grunge? It was like new metal and boy bands or something weird.
Yeah, new metal kind of hit with Korn and stuff. So
yeah,
that was like the last wave of stuff, and it's been hip hop ever since, I think. Like as like the number one,
top, yeah.
That's in its own level, it seems.
Yeah.
And then
it absolutely is.
And that's what we talk about this on the show a lot, is because the media pushes that, though. They don't get behind bands, like back in the day we say, well, the media got behind Metallica and Guns N' Roses to push them to where they are. They're not going to do that to a younger band now. But the thing is, like, metal is so cohesive that I think that you can still get them to a pretty good plateau to of stardom with just word of mouth and kind of like what we do, with the podcast.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, and like I said, there's like so many, like Chris was saying. I was going to say that too. The same thing he was, with the diversity of the record label, they just latched on to grunge and didn't give two shits about the other bands that they had probably on the same label. They probably just kicked all those guys off and just like,
no, totally. They saw it was that Nirvana was selling well, then they're like, more of this. They call it grunge. Yeah. Okay, we'll market it as grunge.
Yeah,
and
then it was alternative or whatever. Then
alternative. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then you get the bands like Sponge and Bush and all that, and then the kind of the radio grunge.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it was funny because like I can't remember the DJ's name, but he was talking about labels were dropping bands while bands were still out on tour.
Yeah, on the tour. Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
What the actual fuck? So. It's awesome. Like talk about cart before the horse. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, definitely some crazy shit there.
But then again, saying that I don't feel bad for these labels. I really don't. The labels that.
Well, I mean, but then now you could look at some of the metal labels and you see like Immortal on there with I'm not saying they're all on the same label, but just bands like Immortal and then bands like Five Finger Death Punch. Then you have a band like Disturbed. Then you have a band like, Megadeth. And then you have a band. I mean, they're like all over the place with the different genres. It's not just like, oh, we're just going to market. We're going to be called death metal, and that's all we're going to market. No, they're actually, it's like Nuclear Blast has a array of those guys, and then some of the other ones that we've covered has an array of those guys. Napalm and all those record labels have an array of different style of metal. So there's a you could have did that then and still have a lot of
they should have done that then.
Yeah, and then a lot of those bands like Bang Tango and Faster Pussycat and all those guys would still be household names. I mean, so.
Mm-hmm. They would have at least been able to hang around longer than they did.
Oh yeah, for at least another decade.
Would they still be around in 2023? Who the hell knows? But I mean, a
lot of those bands are still around. We just don't know it. So.
Well, right. But I mean, we're sitting here talking about Bang Tango in 23, and like we say, it's Joe and
right.
So,
and actually, it's Joe and Kyle is in the band again.
Yeah.
Is he? Okay. Well, there you go. There you go.
I forgot. Yeah, he's back, and they brought back Rowan. He was there when I was in the band. I love Rowan. He's great. He's a Vegas guy. He's a Las Vegas guy. And the other guitar player and drummer they had currently are also Vegas guys.
And good for Kyle to be able to come back from that goddamn car accident. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, right. Yeah.
He had. It almost sounded like he had less not broken bones from that. Mm-hmm. It's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he had to relearn how to do everything again. And all
no
that.
Shit. I mean,
Kyle's a good dude. He's a great guy. We used to have a lot of very late night conversations. He's like a vampire. He wakes up at like 8 p.m. or at least he used to when I talked to him a bunch. But really cool guy. Kind of a little bit of an introvert, kind of shy in public. But
I don't doubt that he kind of would have turned into somebody like that, especially all the stories.
No, yeah.
Talking about being, 12 years sober off of heroin and everything like that. So, I mean, good on him for that. Yeah. I can kind of see about how having gone through all that to be like, maybe I should just kind of pull back a little bit, narrow my circle down a little bit, and just kind of,
the one security guy tripped me out. He was like, I had to like save some drugs out so I could put it in his cellophane, and the next morning, so he. Oh, I got some more. It's like,
Big Scott,
that's crazy, dude. I'm just like, man, that's another level of
incredible bass player, though. Like, really? Oh man, he was Kyle was just out of this world funk bass. He could play anything. He's the type of guy that, he's just out of the amazing bass player. Holy ghost.
Yeah, my favorite bass player has always been Billy Sheehan. I always loved that guy. Like, he can make that thing sound like an electric guitar. It's just so crazy.
That's awesome.
But, Brian, I want to get back to your comment there. You said he felt like Eddie Vedder started hanging around Bruce Springsteen writing songs, and then it changed. The Pearl Jam sound. So
and Neil Young and all that.
Yeah, Jason says Tokyo Blade though. So,
isn't that what's his name? Ted Poley's band? Oh, Tokyo Fist. I'm thinking of something else. Never mind. the guy from Danger had a band called Tokyo or something.
Oh, okay.
Tokyo.
Foley or
Ted Poley. Yeah.
Yeah, Poley. Yeah, Poley. Sorry.
Yeah, Brian says Billy Sheehan sounds like a 3-piece band by himself.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah. Billy Sheehan is the Winery Dogs.
I believe it.
Yeah. So yeah, like the whole
the
whole thing.
Mike Portnoy would probably take umbrage with that a little bit.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, we just need Mike Portnoy and Ellison and what's God, they just went blank. Like one of our favorite singers, Ripper Owens. They just all get together and do a band, man.
That sounds about right. That sounds like it. I'll make it happen. I'll tell you what, I'll make it happen.
And you know damn well that Ripper would fucking sing on it too.
Oh yeah.
He would. He's like, I'll work.
Like that whole ordeal we talk about a lot on here too is how the Tim Ripper Owens era Judas Priest is not able. You can't get it anywhere, which is
that's a shame too.
Yeah, and it's like
weird.
Yeah, it's like
him and Portnoy. They'd show up to an opening of an envelope. Like
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. I like that. That's pretty good. Show up to the opening of an envelope. I never heard that. That's pretty good. So what's so kind of like what's going on with like you working on anything at the moment or?
I was kind of taking a break from everything right now. I suppose I was just It's working the Lucid stuff. Yeah, the Lucid stuff's been a lot of fun, and probably my most proudest musical moment for sure. Some of that stuff some of the music I had laying around since high school, like
really
demos, believe it or not.
Oh, okay.
And it was just magic the way we all clicked for sure, especially with Ben, the singer. And there's a couple other demos with that, and I was just in a movie in Akron a couple weeks ago, and this movie called Side Effects May Vary. And I play a private eye in it, and it's directed by J.R. Bookwalter. He directed The Dead Next Door from the 80s, which was produced by Sam Raimi back then.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Interesting story. But that's coming. That movie's coming out in like September, October. That's going to be cool. It's kind of like the Incredible Melting Man kind of situation. But the Lucid's been awesome. We've been working with Violent J a lot. And still working with Violent J, and he's a wonderful dude. I really love him. I didn't expect him to be as cool as he is, and he is beyond cool. And so kind of have that floating around in the background. It's kind of throwing some stuff around with him. And yeah, I mean, just got the day job, so that's been keeping me sane. And it's working on movie stuff here and there. There's a couple coming out at some point. But what is the song Lucid was recently making a video for? I believe there exists a video for Risk Machine, but the band isn't in it. But the concept for it was incredibly cool, and we had somebody shoot that. I know it's shot. I'm not sure if it's edited yet though, but there will be a video for Risk Machine for sure.
Nice.
And Violent J's been trying to get us together to do a couple of the music videos for the songs that he's singing on. So that might happen. But the thing about the Lucid is there's no rules. So we could. As far as promotion and marketing and all that, so we could come out with a video from a song from the first album in 2 years from now, and still it'll count, So it's all good. So it was kind of, thank you, Kimberly. I'm glad you like Risk Machine. Risk Machine and Mumps were leftover songs from the first album. When we were sequencing the demos, it's like what would sound like an album. It was up between Mumps and Pigs and Sons, and we ended up with Pigs and Sons. And Risk Machine, it was just a little bit too slower tempo to keep a good pace with the first album, so that was kind of left over. And then Allison did a cell phone demo of him just playing bass, and that ended up being the song "Saddle Up and Ride." And then Vin sang over the. It's just Dave with the bass just playing the song, just something to come up with like fully structured. And then I sent it to us, and Vin just sang over that, and that was the demo. It's then here. Dave in the background going, verse, there's the chorus, and then Vince singing over. That's the demo for the song. And then we gave it to Mike, and we just kind of built it up from there.
Nice.
But the Lucid stuff's been really cool.
I was going to ask you about like how did you meet Mike Heller through like I don't know how much we can talk about this, but I know we're talking to you from the expo. You was talking about you was going to do a Fear Factory documentary, kind of like you did the Bang Tango. Was that how you met Mike Heller? Or?
Initially, yeah, I met him through doing that. It's about probably like close to 10 years ago now, And that's how I met Burton from Fear Factory, the singer. And he ended up becoming really, really a dear friend. He's got some really cool stuff up his sleeve coming out soon too. So it's
man,
really
I hate it.
I've been seeing teasers about it. Yeah,
I hated
that. Are there teasers already? That's good.
Yeah, I hated that so much about that because I thought that last album that he was singing on was like one of his best works. Man. Like
it really was. I remember because Mike was also in Zen from Mars with me, right? And that's how we started working together musically. And I was at his house at one point. This was in 2017, and he was about to, or in the midst of recording drums for that album at Aggression Continuum. So it was done. It was already pretty much done in 2017, and it didn't come out till 2021 and 2022.
Oh, I think it was 21, right?
21, yeah. So
I believe so, yeah.
It was crazy. But then, so me and Mike were kind of just over the whole Central Mars experience, and then I had a leftover demo from that. But, I had just had him play drums on it, and I showed it to Dave, and he just kind of threw bass on it. I was like, it sounds pretty cool. We can get to sing on it. And the first thing that popped in my head was like, hey, what about the guy from Sponge? Do we know him? So I sent his website an email, but send this to Vin to sing on. And then surprisingly, he got back and he liked the music, and that became the song Hair. So that was the first Lucid song. And then I kind of just dug around for the demos I had, and then we kind of just built it up, and that was the first album. And then I had those 2 leftover songs, and that became the EP. And we did the Faith No More cover, and or if you want to call it.
It turned out.
That was really good.
It turned out really well.
Yeah, originally it was supposed to be like more faithful cover, but when you got Violent J involved, he wanted to switch things up, and it came out pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think that's a great tribute to Chuck as well, doing that cover. So
and that's the funny thing with Chuck too is that I used to play the outro of Epic at the shows, and he's like, "What is that? What is that? Is that Metallica or the Chili Peppers or something?" And then he'd do like a noise guitar solo over it, and so that was definitely the Chuck was something else. I really miss him. But apart from the Lucid stuff, just kind of this movie stuff here and there. I'm having more fun with the movie stuff than the music stuff.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, so that's what I said. Like, I was a pro wrestler for so long, and I said, man, if I knew I could make this kind of money and not beat my body up, I would have done this like 15 years ago. Man, it's like
that's awesome. That's I haven't seen a penny from the music thing. I mean, to be honest with you, I think we're still upside down with the Lucid, so we got to sell some more albums.
Yeah.
Like as far as like because manufacturing, to be perfectly honest with you, so we printed up. So the new EP, we printed up 300 copies of it. That cost about $700. The vinyl, because you got to do vinyl or else nobody's going to buy anything.
Right.
And so the vinyl was about $2,400 for 200 of them. Woo. And it takes 6 or 7 months to manufacture. And so,
Jesus Christ.
And then you got to do the signed CDs and the signed vinyl. That's a whole nother fucking nightmare because you got to mail the shit all the way around to all of us. And to keep track of it, we lost one batch of it once for the first album. That was fucking.
Oh no!
But so I was like, never again. But then of course you did it again because I'm an idiot. But and so half the vinyl's paid for, so we got to come up with the rest of it. So hopefully we sell some more albums. Otherwise, I'm just gonna end up going out of pocket for it. And that's the music business, kids.
Yeah. Luckily, like you can land some of those good movies. People think that you have to be like on the star of the show or something for these movies to make money, but you really don't. I mean, I've made good money as a background actor, so
right, yeah. If you're in the union doing background, that's a good living, But like, then you could be in the star of an independent movie and you get paid in gas money.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's that's why I've always had a day job. That's if I had to do all this stuff for a living, then I'd use my mind. I would not do that. Because then you'd be just kind of like, what am I going to do now? Then you'd be too busy being worried to be creative. To trying to, at least in my case.
Yeah. Well, no, sometimes I feel like a little overwhelmed too because I'm like going straight from my job, which I work from home right now. So it's kind of
that's awesome.
That's kind of, well, I mean, it is and it isn't. It's kind of a mental thing too with me.
Right,
I'm an outdoor. I like to be out. So at least the drive to work would be a little bit out, but we just don't have an office right now. So they're working on that. So hopefully, soon we'll be able to at least commute a couple of days a week to the office to get me out. But I think a lot of that is like I'll go from there and then I go to setting up stuff for the podcast. So it's kind of like I'm always working. So and like I said, that's a good thing sometimes because you just don't have time to think about the things that are wrong in life. So, or
Right.
you don't have a chance to pull up your phone and see bullshit news stories that piss you off, or
that's why we look to movies and music, because it's there to entertain us and take our mind off of things that people
exactly yeah.
That's why it's got such a strong fandom, because it takes us to a special place. It's there to entertain, and it's always loved and appreciated.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of things that went on during COVID was so distraught, was because it wasn't there for people that needed that outlet, and that's, I think that's why the suicide rate was up, for one, because you didn't have any outlets to get people out of their minds and doing things to kind of free up their demons, I guess. So
totally. Everybody kind of were forced to look inward during that time. Didn't have a choice. And sometimes people, a lot of times. Yeah,
sometimes people don't want to look inward. So
or if they do, they gotta ease into it.
Exactly. It could be a nasty reflection. So
exactly.
That's true.
So
that's very true.
Yeah. Well, hey, Drew, I know we've had you on here like an hour and a half, and
did you? Oh, I felt like 5 minutes. That's awesome.
I know, right? Like
it really did. It really did.
Let's do another hour and a half sometime.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, we're totally down, man. This was
same here.
Yeah, I meant to ask you too. We was talking a little bit about that book. Is there like places to buy that book? Is it on Amazon or anything like that?
The Rockstar Hitman, or the autobiography one?
The autobiography, yes.
Oh yeah, it's on Amazon and all that, and I think Barnes and Noble's. Barnes. Is it Noble's or Noble? Barnes and Noble.
It's one person. Noble.
Yeah,
okay, Barnes and Noble.
One Noble.
one single Noble.
Singular
of the Barnes persuasion.
Two Barnes and one Noble.
2 Barnes, 1 Noble, please.
Yeah, you don't want to Google that shit anyway.
Just to kind of, I'll put some of this stuff up real quick. So
Brian's awesome. He's great. Yeah. Jason's awesome. He's great too.
Yeah. So like I said, we appreciate those people for jumping in too. I'm sure they're probably big followers of you, because I'm not familiar with the name. So most of our people are probably like, Thursday, what the hell are y'all doing?
We are on again tomorrow night. For all of our regulars, we are on again tomorrow night at 10 o'clock.
And we're actually talking to a band out of Michigan called Finality. So I'll probably, so they're from Michigan and Chris is from Michigan. So I'll just be sitting here like mute. So
in Michigan, they just, as far as the music and all, they do things better, man. I mean, I think everybody that came out of Michigan, holy crap.
Yeah, there's a lot of good bands from that area. So yeah, the Northeast is like really saturated too with like bands. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That is as far as the music scene goes, that is one thing I miss about not living in. Of course, I love Michigan, so I miss a lot of it. But as far as music goes, like every tour goes through Detroit. Not every tour comes through Nashville. We get a lot of them. Don't get me wrong. We get a lot of them, but like it's like every time, because we have a tour announcement segment on the show when we don't have guests. So it's like every single North American tour that we announce, there's always a stop somewhere in Michigan. If it's not Detroit, it's up in Flint,
Lansing or something.
Lansing, somewhere. So, and like the part of Michigan I'm from, like if I still live there, it's like, well, shit, Flint's an hour up the road, Detroit's a half hour away, Lansing's 45
right in the middle,
away. So yeah, I'm like, boom, right in the middle. It's like, I'm from right here. Well, I'm from right here. Detroit's here, Flint's here, Lansing's here. So I mean, it's like I can drive to all these places. So I mean, it's.
Well, one time I visited Hell, Michigan. I visited Hell, Michigan once.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of the same with us though, because I mean, where we're at, we can kind of go to Nashville or to like,
that's true,
Huntsville or Athens or Alabama or something, because we're kind of like close to the border from Alabama to Tennessee, so we can actually catch. We have actually went to a few shows in Alabama because I think we went to a Machine Head show there and another show there.
Huntsville.
That's awesome.
Yeah, So we definitely try to follow some of our favorites around. If they're close by, we usually go. So yeah. Or if like he's wearing the Testament shirt and they kind of catch us like on the first leg of the tour and they're only going to be in Chattanooga and then they announce a Nashville date while we're in the fucking venue. I'm like, really? If I knew that, I would have waited.
Well, shit. We did the next best thing. We went twice. So.
Yeah, exactly. We just seen them twice.
Yeah, we went twice.
Yeah.
And I love The Gathering. The Gathering album is part of my favorite.
Oh yeah,
so good.
And it kind of it's funny because the Diet stuff reminds me of that a little bit, like that era of
I can see that. Yeah,
just a smidge. But if I had to compare it to anything, I suppose. But yeah, The Gathering album is just it's 3 Days in Darkness, DNR, So Nice Shut. Oh, that's awesome, Jason.
Yeah. I like that, Jason.
I do too. It's a long sleeve and it says "Go to Hell, Michigan."
Oh wow, that's great. Megadeth missed a marketing thing there, I guess. So.
Yeah. They absolutely did.
They did.
I remember at one point, I think this was.
Hope you put the name of it up there.
Devil's Den. That's awesome.
Nice.
me
and Ellison and a few other fellas, we're going to do something called the David Ellison Bass Chronicles. We had tour dates and everything. We had to cancel because of Megadeth shows. But I think we were going to do like a publicity thing in Hell, Michigan, because I'd just gone there. It was like, we should go here and play Go to Hell or something. And everybody was like, yeah, let's do it. So that was of what could have been. That would have been, that set list would have been bonkers too. Because we worked it out to where it was just going to be like a chronological show of David's career. So it'd start off like Killing Is a Business, go all the way up to World Needs a Hero. Just play 1 or 2 songs from every single album. And,
man, you could have had one. You could have definitely had one hell of a set list off of it.
Oh yeah.
We were going to do Family Tree from Euthanasia.
Oh yeah, I love that song.
And what else? I think Breakpoint and all kinds of really weird deep cut songs.
Here's kind of a Megadeth hot take for me. If it wasn't for Countdown to Extinction, I think, as far as like their later albums, if it wasn't for Countdown to Extinction, I think Euthanasia from front to back could have been one of their more complete albums. Yeah. If not for Countdown to Extinction.
I agree. Totally. It was just such a
Euthanasia is an underrated album as far as
I agree 100%. And it was such a go ahead.
No, I was thinking it was one of those times when I had, Countdown to Extinction, and then Euthanasia was coming out, and we're just like, no, there's no way they can top this. And then you got it, and you're like, damn, it was equally as good, I think.
And it was this almost perfect, seamless transition into the radio era for Megadeth. And then they got 2 radio.
Yeah, exactly.
But me personally, I really like Risk, and we were going to do I think we were going to do either Prince of Darkness or Red Fan or something. I think we were going to do like a Risk medley,
which is cool because we always talk about that. He named that album,
with Lars
for a reason. He named that album for a reason because they took a risk,
he knew,
changing the sound a little. So he knew what they were doing. So it's kind of like the Disturbed Evolution. I mean, that's kind of why they named it that, because they were revolutionizing their sound. So
Risk created a division in Megadeth big time too, because they were managed by a different guy. I think it was Bud Prager or something like that. I forgot, but and he kept on blowing up Mustaine's head like crazy. And he told the other guys, like, hey, Dave Mustaine, he's Bruce Springsteen. The rest of you are the E Street Band.
Oh my God!
So that's around that time, I think, is when from what I was doing.
That's a horrible way to tell people. Jesus Christ! I mean, it's like because you're in a band and it's a band effort. I mean, not one person is the band,
and it was for a while. Like, but from I think Euthanasia, like all the songs are split 4 ways. I think that's the only time he did that. That Cryptic Writings. I mean, the way Mustaine would handle songwriting credits is very suspicious.
So if it makes sense, Dave Mustaine is Megadeth, but Dave Mustaine can't be Megadeth alone.
100%. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because he couldn't do the rest of it. I mean, he'd just be an acoustic set with Dave Mustaine and Megadeth songs. I mean, that's all he could do.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly.
And who wants, and not saying that's a bad idea, but who would want to listen to that all the time?
Right. Yeah.
Nobody's going to do that.
Totally.
If you did a special set or something and say, hey, we're going to do this for 3 months or something, then people would go. But you couldn't do that year in and year out. So I mean, you have to have,
this is what Megadeth is now. Yeah.
and which I think the new album was great. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
I did too.
Yeah.
I loved the one song I truly loved was the Mars one.
Oh, really?
Mission to Mars or something like that. It was just so weird.
Yeah, it was weird. So, that was one of the ones I was just like, man, that's. And then there was like a couple at the end too, like what was it, the police truck or something? Or
the Kennedy's cover.
Yeah.
And that I think it was like Mission to Mars or something like that. And it was just it was like, where does this song belong?
Yeah.
You know, he's talking about being an astronaut and going past space girls. They're like, hey, spaceman, what the fuck is this? And I was like, I like that. That's weird.
Might as well just named it Acid Trip or something.
Totally. It's like, what was he thinking? And he just sounded like he had it took all the leftover riffs, and he was like, all right, let's put them together, and I'll do a couple of shots of this and take a couple of those, and we'll see what I sing about.
So I will say this about a lot of Megadeth music, and I don't know how much Dave Ellison had in writing, like Countdown to Extinction and stuff, but a lot of those songs, man, you look around today, and man, it's kind of scary of how truthful they are.
Oh yeah, A Foreclosure of a Dream, that was Ellison's. What else? He had quite a few. From like So Far So Good onward, he had quite a bit. Family Tree was an Ellison one. Doing cryptic writings. Yeah, he did a lot more than what's usually brought up. Tornado of Souls, that was an Ellison too. I know he helped out with that.
Oh, I love that song too. Yes.
Oh, that's a great one. It's a classic. Absolutely.
Yeah. So definitely sucks that like I said, it definitely sucks that it ended the way it did. But yeah, it's a definitely.
Next year's the 40th, so we'll see. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite. Like Sweating Bullets is always one of my favorite Megadeth songs, regardless.
It's a great live song too to watch him play. Strobe lights and everything.
I love the little ding, 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 ding.
Oh yeah, and the bridge.
But yeah, Drew, we appreciate you taking your time coming on. Like I said, hey, Drew's into a lot of stuff. See his movies, buy his books, buy some Lucid stuff, so we can see him on the road or something. So
we could break even.
Yeah, break even.
Yes, break even.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Sorry. There was one more thing I was going to ask a while ago and I forgot. Was how closer do you guys stay within distance of each other?
The Lucid?
Yeah. Do y'all
want to know a secret? We've still to this day never played a single note of music together.
Wow, that is crazy. Okay. So it's all been remote.
All been remote, except for I think Dave tracked his bass at Mike's studio, but they didn't play together while doing it. But yeah, we do got to get it rolling at some point.
Yeah,
but Vin's in Michigan, Dave's in Arizona, Mike's in LA, and I'm in Indy, and we met up quite a few times. We did the music videos and all that, and it's a blast whenever we do. We have a lot of fun.
That's so cool. Like I said, when we met you at the Rocket Pod, I told Chris, I said, dude, we got to get this guy. I could pick his brain. I could pick his brain for hours, man. So much stuff. With the acting and the documentary and the author. Yeah.
Let's do it again. If there's anything else you want to talk about, let's do it again sometime.
But we talked, technically, you're the first repeat guest we've had.
That's awesome.
So
let's make it a three-peat.
If we count 15 minutes, I mean, but
oh right, yeah.
So.
It was just kind of I did enjoy. I really did enjoy the expo, but I mean, the 15 minutes was basically just us really just kind of getting to know each other. Really, I mean, we talked about a few things I remember, but it was like, hey, here's Drew. Hey, there goes Drew. See, good. Hi, Drew. Good to meet you. Of course, you were like this table, that table, that table. I mean, you're just all over the place, and it was just like. Kind of same thing. How many interviews did we do, Jason? 10, 11, something like that?
I think we did 11. I think that.
Yeah, we had quite a few people on our itinerary that day.
Well, because Ricky was kind of a threw in there. Like I talked him into coming over, so he wasn't even supposed to be on the show. So
yeah, he sat down with us. He took 10 minutes out of his day, which was very very gracious of him. Yeah, so it was very. Nice.
I love Ricky. Ricky's a good dude. So.
Yeah, Wrecking Pot's great. I love Chris Sinzik.
The guy Chris, great dude, man. He's they actually, if you want to tune in tomorrow night, they're doing theirs at 8, I think. I think that's what he said.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
so they're doing their live show tomorrow at 8, and then we do ours at 10. So we're kind of like we kind of follow each other. We kind of follow each other. So I tell everybody, you want your retro stuff, come at 8, and then if you want your new stuff, come at 10. So
that's right.
That's awesome.
But tomorrow we have an interview, so it's just going to be band, kind of chit chatting with another band. So which is cool. Like, this is the first time we've ever did 2 in a row in a week too. So a lot of firsts for us this week.
A lot of firsts, which is nice.
Yeah, so pretty cool.
And what's funny with the Rock and Pod thing, because I remember I was like, that was the first, because I did it where I just show up and do the interviews and maybe do like a panel or something. This is the first time they had me to do the signing stuff, and I was just sitting there. I was like, I don't fucking belong here with these people. It's like everybody just takes themselves so seriously. A lot of the musicians and all that. And it's just like nobody knows how to just have fun. It's like, oh no,
I think we got lucky with our interview.
I think we did too.
Yeah, the interview guests, like everybody seemed a little down to earth and not too far into what they were doing. It's kind of a
that's good.
Like I said, we're more laid back anyway. I mean, we do ask questions, but we tend to like get caught up in stuff and start chatting just like we did earlier with other things. But but it's always good to hear other people's take on stuff that kind of either say, oh well, I can see it this way that we didn't see before, or agree with each other, kind of like what we did. But
right,
yeah. So, but it was definitely pretty cool. But yeah, and there's a lot. One of you were one of our favorites, and I think there was Bob Chiappardi was one of my favorites from there, because there was just so much information that I'm just like, dude, I could just like pick this guy's brain for like hours.
And he was there, and he's seen it all happen.
He's been around. He's been around for 40
like
plus years.
40 years. Yeah.
So he's seen the birth of a lot of bands, which was pretty cool.
And the death too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, both sides, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but yeah, he had some pretty awesome stories, I thought. So.
Oh yeah, I can't even imagine. I'm sure.
yeah. But hey, man, we definitely appreciate you taking your time coming on here and talking with us again. We actually enjoyed it, and like I said, I'm gonna check out that Dwellers this weekend.
I'm gonna check out a lot of it. Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Yeah, her name is Krista. The most romantic necrophilia left to be told. And Brimstone Incorporated. Trivial is another one that's coming out. And side effects may vary. Dementophobia.
I need to get like a lot of stuff together and start shooting, because I got screenplays that I wrote that Hollywood's not even came close to even making movies about. So,
dude, just make it yourself, man. Just go for it. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I just gotta get the equipment to do it with. So, but
the movie I was just in, shot on his iPhone.
Really?
It looked fucking amazing. It looked better than anything else. It looked incredible. And it looks just as good as anything you'll see at a movie theater.
Wow.
That's iPhone 14.
Wow, that's crazy.
You had to rig for it, and the lens, you could get the lenses, and the lenses are cheap. You get the lenses for I think like 30, 40, $50.
Nice.
The lenses. You could go on Amazon right now, get those lenses, get a little rig. You shoot a whole movie in that thing, man. It's incredible.
Crazy.
Metalheads Unite, brought to you by Apple.
Yeah, right.
just give us a little.
We shall see any money from them. So,
we'll get a magic check show up out of nowhere.
That'd be fine.
They're going to pay you in apples. They're going to pay you in apples.
Exactly. Yeah, they'll be like, "No, man, he was talking about the fruit. He wasn't talking about us."
Hey, look into the phone stuff though. Like it looks incredible. Like it's.
Yeah, I will look into that. So, and like I said, I appreciate Jason and Brian and
Jason and Brian and and
wonderful
Kimberly
people.
and Dulcie and
Kimberly Dulcie, amazing, great people.
Yeah, I actually got to remember Dulcie's stuff, because my wife's a big art fanatic. So
check her stuff out.
Yeah, so I'll get her to look at some of her stuff. So I'm kind of glad that came up. So
she's out of this world. Incredibly talented.
Happy wife, happy life.
Oh yeah, totally.
But hey, Drew, again, we appreciate it, man. Like, good luck to you with everything. Hopefully, we get some more info about a Lucid tour, some new music. Everything gets rolling for you guys, man. Because, like I said, that's I love the new records and stuff. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for giving it attention and wanting to talk about it.
That's kind of what we're here for. So
absolutely,
well, it comes from the heart for sure.
We always try to push stuff that the normal podcasts don't push. So I mean, that's kind of, it's kind of where we set ourselves kind of apart, because we want to. That's what we want to do. We want to push those things out that people may not know about. So.
Totally. Anything I do is I always try and keep it independent of the independent, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like how you make it, though. The independent, right now, that's kind of where it's at. Independent has to help the independent, or you don't go anywhere. So
right, yeah.
Because these big marketing guys aren't going to help you. I mean, they're only in it for themselves. So.
Oh yeah, and instead of trying to. Get invited to the party. Start your own party.
As Dave Chappelle says, except them shits that want to sponsor us, and that's okay. So, but yeah, we appreciate it, Drew, man, and like I said, good luck with everything. Hopefully, we'll keep in touch though, for sure. So
absolutely, yeah. Anytime
I'm following you on everything. So as far as I know,
appreciate
it. Appreciate everybody. Drew Fortier, everything, actor, author, whatever you want to call him.
All kinds of random
guitarist, definitely multi-talented guy. Y'all check out some of that stuff.
Appreciate you.
We appreciate you, Drew.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it was our pleasure.
Our pleasure's all mine.
Hey, man, you have a good one, Drew. We appreciate it.
All right, you too, guys. You take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Awesome, guys. Drew Fortier. So, man,
I don't know. I'm glad he's taking a break and just kind of like.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody needs to kind of recharge from. He does a lot of shit. Somebody is kind of.
I was about to say he just needs to get some goddamn sleep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel that way too. Like, from what I do, I'm just like, man, I do this, and I was just in a movie last week. I'm still recovering from that, by the way. I was just like. Feel like I still haven't slept because I had to like change my sleep pattern to go to a shoot at 9 a.m. So, 3 hours away. So I had to get up at 5 a.m. just to go to a shoot, which is normally the time I go to bed. So,
right. That shit takes a lot of getting used to.
It does, man. It took me about 3 days to get back into the scene. I was like, man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But, do what you got to do to make art, I guess. So,
absolutely.
So we appreciate you guys for stopping in and checking out the interview with Drew. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as much as we did. And you can, Jason, I didn't want to really like bring that up because I mean that's kind of a sore subject about Drew had beat cancer, so I didn't so those kind of things I try to stay away from unless it kind of pops up from them. It's because I kind of like I said, if I had Richie Faulkner on here, I wouldn't just come out and say, "Oh, so how was the heart attack?"
Right?
Yeah.
So your heart exploded. What was that like?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, but yeah, Jason, we knew about that. We just didn't want to bring it up unless he kind of. We would have if he'd have said something about it, but I kind of like everybody else. I'm kind of like, I probably wouldn't have said nothing about it either if I was him. But but yeah, he did. So he did beat cancer. So which is great. So But anyway, if you guys are around tomorrow at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will have a band out of Michigan called Finality. If you haven't checked their stuff out, their new album is on all the streaming platforms called Technocracy.
Technocracy, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great album too. So you
really
should check those guys out. So 6-piece band. So it's kind of odd to talk to a 6-piece band, but we'll get all the insights about that tomorrow. So.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So until then. You guys have a great night. Hopefully we'll see you back here tomorrow. And until then, keep those devil horns held high. Jump in that pit anytime you can.
Have a great night, guys. See you tomorrow.